Hello, people. Hey, look, I got an actual screen where I can actually see myself, like unlike last time. Um, I'm gonna do a short thing. It's not very long. I love to be very long. I like Ray Bradbury. I've always liked Ray Bradbury. But I should go closer. The reason I'm mostly doing this is I'm finding a lot about Michael Al, who was the editor of, well, he was a writer, editor, artist on Epic Comics, EC Comics, I should say. Also Tales from the Crypt, weird fantasy, both of horror, those things in the 40s and also in the 50s. That was those weird things, the horror comics, those very disturbing comics that were slowly, or very quickly, depending on how you look at it, gotten rid of because they were, bothering people. But that's where he started before he went on to Mad Magazine. He was the editor of Mad Magazine online. And him and Ray Bradbury were good friends, and that's where Ray Bradbury got a lot of his start. My uncle did a lot of the artwork, some of the writing, helped him get his stories into the fantasy, the magazines, and the comics, I should say. So I figured I might as well do something, because I like Ray Bradbury. I like him a lot more than I like Isaac Asimov. Some brief stuff. Ray Bradbury, born August 22nd, 1920, Waukegan, Illinois, died June 5th, 2012, Los Angeles, California. Ray Douglas Bradbury was an American author, screenwriter, one of the most celebrated 20th century American writers. He worked in a variety of genres, including fantasy, science fiction, horror, mystery, and realistic fiction. Let's see if I can do something real fast here. But anyway, I am finding a lot about my. I'm going to bring my uncle up a lot in this. I'm sorry, I'm just now. Well, hopefully not too much. It's supposed to be about Ray Bradbury, but I'm discovering a lot that he knew the man, that he helped him get his stuff in print. I mean, there is a YouTube video out there with my uncle and Ray Bradbury talking about their XEC comic days, which is very fascinating, by the way. I never knew this about my uncle, which is kind of sad, because all I ever knew about him was from Mad Magazine. But anyway, enough about my uncle, and I've been saying that, and I'll probably say it again. So cluttered up on my desk. But anyway, I'm just going to talk about a few books, recommend a few books. I find this stuff good. I like his fantasies. I like his horror stories. I like his mystery stories. I like his sci-fi stories. I like his strange stories. I mean, this wasn't written by Bradbury. This is a book about him. I found this a while back. I don't know. Beautiful, crafted, emotional stories of Ray Bradbury have touched the hearts and minds of millions of people all over the world. Martian Chronicles, often taken as a novel, but actually 26 linked short stories characterized by a strong structural unity, are among the most widely read and admired science fiction stories of all time. His classic novel, Fahrenheit 451, which Donald Watt in this book calls the only major symbolic dystopia of our time, is a brilliant treatment of totalitarianism and those who struggle against it. Despite, or perhaps because of, the surface simplicity of his major works, Ray Bradbury has seldom been studied. This book, this one here, attempts to place Bradbury in a perspective both as a writer and in terms of his place in the history of science fiction. The latter point is an important one because Bradbury is not considered a science fiction writer, which is true. Well, he did write science fiction related things by many of his contemporaries and critics. Most often than not, he has been misunderstood, especially in regards to his attitudes toward science and progress. The controversy surrounding Ray Bradbury cannot obscure his success as a writer. However, his books have sold millions of copies in paperback and have remained in print for decades. The experts contributors to this volume consider the charge that Bradbury is really an anti-science writer, fearful of technology and its effects. A number of these themes are treated in depth. Bradbury's attitudes towards science and technology, his alleged enchantment with the past, his poetic use of imagery and religious symbolism in his work. In addition, Edward J. Gallagher analyzes the thematic structure of the Martian Chronicles. Gary K. Wolfe probes the importance of the frontier myths in Bradbury's work. Lahana Diskin discusses Bradbury's views on the children, and Hazel Pierce offers illuminating comments on Bradbury and the Gothic tradition. It's basically talking about Ray Bradbury, the guy, the writer, why he writes what he writes. I've skimmed it a few times. I haven't read it all the way through, but I have skimmed it. I've looked at it. What I have read, I've liked very much. He was an interesting guy. He was. I mean, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is his short story, Foghorn. Foghorn, right? I always get that name wrong. It amazes me. Yeah, Foghorn. This is the original Golden Apples of the Sun short story collection. So it's the original. This isn't a remake. This is a reprinting. It has the original, the Foghorn, the Pedestrian, the April Witch, the Wilderness, the Flying Machine. I'm going through the list of everything. You can read it if you can. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm not very good at this yet, but I'm getting there. I don't know if you can read it. But I like his short stories. I'm not a big novel guy. I'm just not. I mean, okay, a novel like this doesn't bother me. Fahrenheit 451, a great novel, and they probably should shut the window, but it's too nice outside. But, this is a great book on dystopia and the fact that books are bad, which is what we are becoming on this planet now. But anyway, this is excellent. But I don't, my problem is, I like short stories more than I like novels. I always have. I always will. It'll take me a while to read this. It just will. It's not bad. It's very good. I like this. Very good book. Very good story he wrote. Something This Way Cometh. The movie. I think it's Jason Robards, but I think it's made in the 80s, I believe. This is very good. It is very good about a mysterious circus that comes to town and steals people's souls and all kinds of fun stuff. It is an interesting book. I read it a long time ago. I like the short stories. I like short stories. I can't help it. I write short stories. That's what I like to do. This is another collection of his short stories from the Golden Apples of the Sun and R is for Rocket. I haven't found R is for Rocket yet. I was lucky to find this. This is not a reprint. This is an original copy. So this has, this also has the Foghorn in it. R is for Rocket is R is for Rocket. In the beginning, the Rocket Man. Other odds and ends stories. He was a prolific writer. He was a good writer. He had a great imagination. I mean, he used to have in his office all these odds and ends and knickknacks and this, that, and the other, and he would just look around his office when he didn't know what else he wanted to write. So he would look at something in his office and say, I will make that into a story. And that's what he did a lot of times. The Halloween Tree. Let's see. I don't know if this is short stories or not, but I have it. This is one I haven't read yet, but it's Ray Bradbury, so naturally I bought it. So yes, I'm assuming, let's see, 1,000 pumpkins smiles down from the Halloween tree. Twice times 1,000 fresh-cut eyes glare and wink and blink. As Mount Scrooge leads the 8 trick-or-treaters, not 9. Where is Pumpkin? On a leap-toss, kite-flying, gliding, broomstick riding trip to learn the secret of All Hallows Eve. Well, asked Martha Shroud at Journey's End. Which was it? A trick or a treat? Both, they all agreed, and so will you. I'll take their word for it. I haven't read it yet. But it's Ray Bradbury, so it's got to be good. The Illustrated Man I have read. Very good short stories, of course. Very, very good short stories. I recommend all these books. I don't think there's a bad Ray Bradbury short story collection or novel collection. I would say don't read. Let's see. Another collection of short stories. If I remember correctly. Oh yeah. Tons of them. He had an imagination. I mean, if you really want to improve as a writer, if you really want to improve the imagination part of your thing of being a writer, and you wanted to keep going, and you want to get ideas, you get ideas from other writers. I do all the time. But he had an imagination. He had a playful imagination. He had a sense of humor. He had a peculiar warped imagination at times, illustrated man. Um, but he also spoke about things that he was also concerned about. Fahrenheit 451 of the future. But he was a good writer, and it just amazes me. I did not know that about my uncle. That he knew Ray Bradbury. There were a lot of reasons why this probably never came up, the family stuff, but for the most part, he knew Ray Bradbury very well. I would recommend finding this YouTube interview he did several years ago, of course, before he died. I believe it was done in 2004, I believe. It's easy to find. Just look for Ray Bradbury and Al Feldstein, and they will come up, and they'll be talking about their time at the EC Comics days, both of horror. You know, I had to write this stuff down. There were a lot of comic books. Tales from the Crypt, Weird Fantasy, Vault of Horror. And he did. Uncle Al helped him get his stuff into print. Uncle Al would draw a lot of those pictures, a lot of those covers. And he would write, and he did editing. And I only knew him as a Mad Magazine guy. I really wish I had known this Uncle Al, who knew Ray Bradbury. He knew Ray Bradbury. Why wasn't I told this? Oh, there was a reason, believe me. It wasn't Uncle Al's fault. But anyway. Dandelion Line, which I must admit I have never read. I'm sorry. I thought somebody was home. I'm trying to do this when no one's home. I will read it eventually. But I recommend it, of course. The Martian Chronicles was probably the second book of Ray Bradbury's I've read. Probably the Fahrenheit 451 was probably the first. I remember reading this. I don't remember if I liked it or not. That's the odd thing. I recommend everything he writes. I do not remember if I liked it originally. Maybe that's why I hesitate to read it again. Maybe it's one of those few times I'm having a negative memory, and it may or not be even accurate because I read so much. It could be a different book I'm thinking. Because Ray Bradbury was a wonderfully brilliant writer. He had a great imagination. I mean, he really did. Wish there was a biography out there of him. Then there's just the Ray Bradbury short stories, 100 of his short stories. Oddly enough, the Foghorn is not in here. I don't know why. The Foghorn is not in there. It's in the other ones I recommend. It's in two of the ones I recommended. But anyway. I like Ray Bradbury, as I keep saying. I think he was an influence in my writing probably in my 30s more than any other time. My beginning reading life was sporadic. It really was. I probably because I think in the beginning I only saw him as a science fiction writer, and I don't know why I saw it that way. Probably because of the Martian Chronicles and Fahrenheit 451. I can't talk. You know how kids are; they don't think properly. But as time went on, I discovered him. I realized, yeah, this is good, actually. This is a good writer. I like him. And I'll probably read Martian Chronicles and realize, oh, wait a minute. This isn't how I remember it. I guess I did like it. It's possible. You know how we humans are. But yeah, I mean, he wrote some weird stuff, and it got in there thanks to my uncle. And I'm going to keep bringing my uncle up. I'm sorry. I just think that's so fascinating and so cool that my uncle knew Ray Bradbury, and he helped Ray Bradbury get started, and he did all this artwork, and he just, that's probably bordering on hero worship, but whatever. It's my uncle. I can do that. I didn't get to know the man the way I wish I had known the man. You got to know Ray Bradbury. Fun. Anyway. I would read anything and everything by Ray Bradbury. I would recommend it. If you want to learn how to be a better writer, read Ray Bradbury. If you want to learn the craft of how to write very good stories with lots of twists and turns and all kinds of wonderful things inside that fertile imagination of his, read Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury. I can't talk today. But anyway. Well, we're at almost 15 minutes. This is where I wanted to stop anyway, so. Yeah. I will probably try to do another video at 2:30 as I figure out what that's going to be. It is a very nice day out here in Minnesota. It's nice and sunny. Supposed to rain the next 3 days though, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But anyway, I'm thinking about, well, I'll leave that for later. All right, well, behave yourselves, people, because you know I can't. Share, like, subscribe, comment. Behave yourselves. Later, later. Later, later. Later, later.